Hi, it's Neil here. Before we start today's show, I wanted to let you know that I've teamed up with my friends at HireEct this month. And HireEct is the first chat-based hiring app for startups. And what I love about HireEct is it takes everyone away from the dreaded email inbox and waiting around for responses. Think of it like WhatsApp for recruiting. And the HireEct app brings together recruiters and job seekers so they can directly connect with each other. And this allows recruiters and job seekers to communicate more and receive quick feedback. And the HireEct app also uses advanced technology to efficiently map job seekers and recruiters, all based on their preferences and behaviour. So you can improve your chances of reaching inbox zero, accelerate your hiring process 10 times faster than those traditional ways, all by chatting and interviewing candidates anytime, anywhere, on any device. So I invite you all to download the HireEct app for free from the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. That's HireEct, spelled H-I-R-E-C-T. Give it a try, let me know what you think. But on with today's show.
Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, and I have an exciting new company to share with you all today. I recently discovered them, and it's because I'm fascinated by how people are turning away from savings accounts and 1% interest rates and turning to alternative investments. And by that, I mean everything from crypto to wine and even sneakers and racehorses. Essentially, Firma is an investment platform built to support new generations of investors who have very, very different goals and behaviours than their predecessors. So they offer public and private securities across asset classes to help their users build a comprehensive and more balanced portfolio. And for example, did you know that the average portfolio of a 25 to 35-year-old now actually consists of a broad range of assets, which can include stock, crypto, shoes, cars, whiskey, private equity, and so much more. So how is technology going to bring all that together? Well, buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to California, where Anna Roubos is waiting to speak with us to share her story and tell us what we can expect from Firma. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Anna. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Hi, Neil. Thank you so much for having me. I am Anna Roubos, CEO of Firma, and I've worked in nearly every corner of fintech for the past almost decade. And now I am running an investment platform that is, by the time this launches, our first version will be launched to our alpha group.
And I'm curious, you said that you've been in every corner of fintech for the past decade, but I've got to ask, can you share your origin story, where your passion for finance and technology came from, how those worlds collided, and ultimately what put you on this path you're on today?
Yeah. If we're talking passion for finance, it would go back to probably age 5 when I had like a padded SeaWorld wallet and was learning how to save money for the first time. But I think jump like a tiny bit forward, in the 5th grade, I did my first stock trading simulation. And as a young girl in middle of nowhere, Massachusetts, it was really fascinating to me that I could like take part in this much bigger world where all of these complicated things happened, and that just with a little bit of money, you could be a part of that. And yeah, so that's where my like initial interest in investing really took hold. For the past decade, I've worked with some really amazing brands in fintech like Robinhood and Credit Karma, and a couple of companies in crypto and payments and consumer credit. So yeah, I've kind of been in every corner. I think the thing that I love about fintech is that money really says a lot. And as a communications professional, I love to study the way that people make financial decisions and the way that money moves around the world. And just like how tightly knit that is into our society. and our individual identities.
It's incredibly cool what you're doing there, and I love the story behind it all. But here in 2021, Firma is an investment platform built to support new generations of investors, all with different goals and behaviours than their predecessors. So can you expand on what that is and the kind of problems that you're setting out to solve, and ultimately what makes it different from other solutions out there?
Yeah. So I think that, for many of our parents who had the fortune of investing for many of us has seemed a little bit like a black box, and investing, the products that you look at have been historically a little bit opaque. And with the rise of a new generation of investing platforms like Robinhood and Cash App and Public, to a certain extent like Wealthfront and Betterment, you get a little bit more transparency, you get lower prices, so you have more participation. But with some of that, that has been a really, really good first step. But a lot of people are looking to really build wealth in a meaningful way. And what that's going to look like for different individuals is very different. And so you need a platform that can support someone who, they're investing in Square and Apple and a couple of really solid ETFs, but then they also have a $50,000 sneaker collection, or they own royalties in a couple of their friends' songs or something. There's just like a wider variety of how people are building wealth than we saw in previous generations, and we need a platform that supports that and makes people understand that their own journey is great and okay. And I mean, sneakers are a very valid asset class, but not many financial planners would say that.
No, it's so true what you're saying there. And I've heard everything. We've spoken to people on the show how they're using technology to invest in everything from sneakers to watches and even wine. And although there's 5,000 miles between us today in our conversation that we're having here in the UK, interest rates for a savings account is something like 1%, which is incredibly low. And I suspect it is very similar in the US. And many younger people are exploring alternative investments, from stock to crypto, NFTs, and all those other things that we've just mentioned. But I'm curious, what trends are you seeing out there now at the moment?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of interest in NFTs, a lot of hustling in secondary markets. So a lot of Gen Z has been doing some like really creative work in like vintage Prada and like finding things and selling them. And it's a little bit reminiscent to, it's just like a much more sophisticated version of what, people were doing a few decades ago on eBay. Like you, just like buying something and flipping it. I think like the main thing to highlight though, is that with the low rates comes a lack of, savings is just no longer what it was, right? Like the money in your savings account will lose value against inflation. And that is a huge crisis. Millennials in America in 2022 alone are set to lose something like $18 billion worth of value. And it's just like, low rates are a major problem. And it's exciting to see people come up with, other creative ways to make their money grow. But it's definitely something that we need to make sure people are aware of.
And those creative ways are also incredibly impressive. But I think also how they're all leveraging technology to do this. So the question I've got to ask you, of course, is how are you helping users make those better decisions and with confidence using your tech?
Yeah. So confidence is a really important topic in investing. And I think it's important to talk about, why someone would lack confidence from the get-go. Historically, advisors have a set of financial products that they're looking to sell you. And one of the tactics is to kind of make you feel like the other options aren't as good. And the truth is that there are a million ways to build wealth, and like a million very viable, very healthy, solid ways to build wealth. And a lot of us, I feel like, make, when we go to make an investing decision, we have this major FOMO. We're worried about, making the wrong decision or losing money. And obviously losing money is always a risk. But it's important for people to know that, like just like in life, there are a million ways to be successful and happy and, and grow your money. But with Firma specifically, we help people invest aligned with their values and their interests. So we try to match them with investing products that look familiar to them and are readily understandable and expand from there. So, there are corn ETFs or an ETF focused on women in leadership, or things that people are already passionate about and interested in, and are just like that black box that we were talking about earlier, things that are clearer and make more sense readily.
So if somebody listening is on the way to the Firma website whilst listening to us speaking here, can you walk me through what they can expect, how it works, and maybe provide a use case just to help them understand how it all works and the value it could offer them?
Yeah, so really typical onboarding process, and then you're asked a couple of questions about your values and your interests and your current financial situation. And from there, we make some recommendations for foundational investments that are reflective of your values and interests. Because we really want people to start their investing journey from a place of confidence, and that makes a lot of sense to them. So those products are public securities, and then we are also offering private opportunities down the road, and we'll be expanding out so you can see your other investing accounts reflected in your Firma account, because Firma is meant to be the platform on which you view all of your investments and the platform from which you strategize about your wealth building journey and take action from. So we are for any investor that is interested in having a better relationship with their money and building their wealth in really meaningful ways.
And for the techies listening, I understand you probably can't share too much about what goes under the hood, but what role, can you tell me a little bit more about the technology that makes all this possible?
Yeah, so we have a really fascinating back end, connecting a lot of different accounts and different types of asset classes is very complicated from a regulatory and just movement of data perspective. Yeah. So the way that we reflect everything to the user, we try to keep that as simple and straightforward as possible. And on the back end, we're really jumping through some pretty big hoops to make sure that, the money is available to go to the places that it needs to go to at the right time. And our team is just incredibly talented in this area. We have some of the best engineers that I've ever encountered.
And as we mentioned at the very beginning of the podcast, the world of finance is changing rapidly. The interest rates are low, people searching for alternative investments in a variety of ways. But what role do you see technology playing in educating new investors and helping them build that meaningful wealth? What role do you see tech playing in that aspect of things?
Yeah. So as I briefly touched on earlier, I think the role that investment tech has played for the past 5 or so years is just lowering barriers. And I think moving forward, the fact that those barriers are lowered is going to enable just much more diverse ways of growing wealth and just increased expectations for what you'll have access to and what your portfolio will look like. I think the average retail investor will get a more sophisticated portfolio view, and they'll start to think of, their sneakers, like I said, as being a very viable part of their overall financial picture, and the stock that they hold in their startup or, their vintage couture. I think that people will start to view their wealth in much more comprehensive ways, and it won't just be about the traditional investment products that they have, but about their entire financial picture. And I'm really excited to see what all of those individual pictures look like. What are you invested in? What are you curious about? What areas do you have a lot of confidence in? What areas do you lack confidence in?
Oh, well, I lack confidence in traditional savings right now. As a tech guy, I'm incredibly
That's very smart.
As a tech guy, I'm incredibly fascinated by the world of cryptocurrencies. Absolutely love it. Follow it all, from the great coins to the, for want of a better phrase, shit coins. NFTs, I want to understand, but I just don't. I cannot get my head around it at all. I've tried. I've written articles about it, and it still doesn't make sense to me that someone's going to pay $800,000 for what looks to me like a JPEG. You know, I just don't understand it.
Yeah, NFTs are tricky.
Where do you stand on NFTs?
So the world of I worked with a brand, I don't know, 4 years ago that was working with Fortune 500 companies to come up with these like non-fungible tokens to help with marketing. Yeah. So you could buy like a Coke, but also like an NFT of a bottle of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And that they were just like exploring that concept. And I thought it was incredibly interesting. And I think that the evolution of digital artifacts is, I'm like fascinated by how accelerated that has become, and how the future generations' concepts of the things that they own are like equally on and offline. But yeah, I mean, the technology behind it, like, I think it's shockingly simple. Yeah. Like you said, it's a JPEG file. But I mean, my stance is like, I'm a pretty conservative investor myself, so I haven't looked at NFTs as being, you know, like a place where I want to do anything but dabble and play around. But I think that as someone who has a lot of friends who are artists, I'm really excited for what it's going to mean for the artist community, and hopefully in the future make, you know, more viable ways for artists to make money online. So yeah, all of my like NFT dabbling right now is really focused on just following my gut and things that I'm like wouldn't mind losing all of my money on.
Yeah, I think that's the key. You've got to be prepared to lose what you put in. For me personally, I'm a guy, you're saying what I don't have confidence in. I'm probably a guy, I think we're living in end of days at the moment, so it feels a lot of the time. And for that reason, that's how I justify the fact that I spend more than I save. I should be saving more, especially at my time of life. But I'm an experiences over possessions kind of guy. I'd sooner do something that I remember for the rest of my days than, you know, you can't take it with you has always been my philosophy. So I need to get better at that stuff.
Totally. And I think that like part of removing that black box from finance is really in encouraging people to see their investments as a way to build the future that they want, instead of just a way to build their wealth, because wealth building in and of itself isn't actually all that attractive for a lot of young people. But the concept, like the prospect of being able to influence the direction that the world is headed with your money is. And if more middle-class folks understood the power that their collective wealth can have, we would start to see, I think, a world that more of us feel a little bit less like is in the end times.
And something else that fascinates me, especially with the crypto world compared to, let's say, traditional finance, is how impatient we are. If you have it in a traditional savings account, you're going to get 1% a month or what have you. Whereas in the world of crypto, if you've not made 20% in a couple of days, people are moving on to the next big thing, and nobody remains in one place and constantly skipping
about their losses. So
the what? Sorry,
I said nobody tweets about their losses.
That's right. Yeah.
Which, you know, all of the big players in crypto that I know have, you know, like they've lost catastrophic amounts of money some weeks, and then other weeks, you know, they're back up, and you just, it requires a really rock solid stomach. I've been a Bitcoin holder for a long time, and my Bitcoin is in cold storage because I just couldn't deal with it. Yeah. Being like in front of my face all the time, because it just, makes my stomach lurch.
Yeah, and the responsibility of looking after them. Was it the guys that bought a pizza with 10,000 bitcoins many years ago as well? Do you remember that one?
I do. Yeah, I mean, I think when you get like into, like whenever there's really incredible opportunity, there's incredible risk. And
Yeah.
uh,
And just while you're
the
talking there, I've just Googled it, and the bitcoins that they bought the pizza with would be worth 3.8 billion today. Imagine spending 3.8 billion on pizzas.
I mean, the thing is, though, like investing is very much like life. Like there
Yeah.
are so many opportunities that we turn down for other things that are better for us. And I'm not saying that like pizza is better than $3.8 billion, but I mean, maybe for some people it is. Like money is not everything. And
Yeah.
I've turned down jobs where, maybe I would have had an amazing amount of money in the stock in that company later on.
Yeah.
But no regrets, you just got to live your life.
100%. I absolutely love that answer. No regrets.
When I bought Bitcoin early, and I'm very lucky to have done that, but I didn't buy Ethereum early and I had to pay the price later on. So, there are all of these things that, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but it's just a waste of time. The one thing, like I've been really interested in commercial real estate and some more traditional alternatives. So I am invested in wine and whiskey, and I have like a share in a racehorse. Which is highly speculative, but kind of fun. I kind of have like a section of my portfolio that I view as more entertaining than, like I don't, and it performs well, but it's really more there to like I said, entertain me than, I don't really like have a lot of, I don't have a lot leaning on it in terms of like pressure for it to do well. But yeah.
Oh, I love that. I spoke to the guys at Corked Wines a couple of weeks ago, and again, it completely blew my mind. I've never thought about investing in wine. I know you just mentioned it there, which jogged my memory, but the industry's huge, isn't it?
It is. And there are a lot of really cool platforms. And wine is another interesting one that, I think investing can be this really, really great gateway to learning more about something. And wine in particular is there's just such a wealth of information to be had. And I've been a big like wine fan since I was 21. And, but having now invested in it, I've learned so much more about different varietals and what's popular in different regions, and why things become popular kind of in a flash, and what other things tend to perform well over the long term. And it's remarkably similar to, like the S&P 500 and penny stocks. Like there's like penny wines. So it's interesting. There's a platform in the US called Vint that's really, they have a really, really cool, a lot of really, really cool products.
And I've got to say, you must have the coolest portfolio I've ever heard in my life. Everything from racehorses, wine, and crypto. You've got all bases covered there, man. I love that.
I just love to, it's important for me to, walk the walk. So if I'm expecting our users to take a look at something, then I for sure am going to have my own money in it to just, test it out for a while and see how it goes. So it's a lot of fun. It should be fun. Investing should be fun. It shouldn't be this stressful thing. There was a study done in Canada a few years ago that said that people would rather go to the dentist than make an investing decision. And that was just so tragic to me, because investing should be a good time. And if it's not, then you need a new platform. Come over to Firma. Firma's fun.
And of course, it's a huge week for you at the moment. You've just launched, but you're probably spinning lots and lots of different plates and getting asked 1,000,001 questions. And sorry to be that guy, but I'm going to ask, can you tell me a little bit more about your roadmap at Firma and what we can expect over the next 12 months? I appreciate you have just gone live and there's so much going on at the moment, but is there anything you can share about the road ahead?
So our long-term product vision is to be a family office for every family. And what that means on a philosophical level is just like supporting the unique goals of each individual or household. And so that starts with investing, but it also includes tax optimization and portfolio balancing. And we'll be looking into connecting people with really good philanthropic opportunities and everything that you would expect from how a very, very wealthy person is treated. We want every single household to experience that kind of support and care and encouragement. So the Firma platform will be a really comprehensive investment platform, but we will also be expanding into other areas of financial health and wealth building.
Well, I wish you the best of luck for the future on this journey. I will be following you closely. We'll get you back on the show in 2022, see how things are going. But before I let you go, I always like to have a bit of fun with my guests. We started our conversation today talking about your origin story, where the worlds of fintech collided for you. And now I'm going to ask you, what was the soundtrack to that career in tech over the last decade and beyond? Is there a song that has stuck with you throughout that journey, inspired you, or just helps you get your head in the zone? Is there a song and story you can share with us today?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to come up with something else, but I think I'm like a pretty laid back person, but a song that I repeatedly turn to like really get my head in the game is Monster by Kanye West.
Love it. That's a great choice. I'll get that straight onto our Spotify playlist to inspire other people out there. But for everyone listening, they want to find out more information about Firma, how they can get involved, contact your team if they've got any questions. What's the best starting point?
Yeah, so you can join the waitlist to be a Firma user at www.firma.finance. Or you can find us on Twitter and LinkedIn.
Fantastic. I'll have those links to the show notes so people can find you nice and easily. Wish you the best of luck for the future, but more than anything, thank you for taking the time, sharing your story, how you got where you are today, and of course for sharing that great tune too. But thanks for joining me, and hopefully we'll speak to you again next year.
Great. Thanks so much, Neil.
I love the idea of how Firma is betting on consumers' need to manage a broad range of investments in one place, because things are changing so quickly and we're entering this almost savings account crisis at the moment where millennials' uninvested cash could end up losing over $18.5 billion to inflation in 2022 alone. So investing is imperative, but everybody's portfolio should look different, not like the person next to them or their best friends, and no person's financial needs or values are the same. The age of a cookie-cutter approach of prescriptive personal finance is over. We need something different. But I want to throw this one over to you. I'd love to hear more about your alternative investments as well. If you do invest in anything from crypto to sneakers, whiskey, wine, or watches, whatever it may be, I would love to hear more about that. So please share with me your stories, your insights of how you've realised you're losing money in a savings account, so have took matters in your own hands. I'll never give financial advice on this podcast. It's not what it's about. But I'm interested in your experiences and what you've encountered along the way. And maybe we can all learn from each other. So please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn at Neil C. Hughes. And my website is techblogwriter.co.uk, where you will find over 2,000 podcast interviews across my own podcast here, Tech Talks Daily, and of course the Tech Fusion podcast, which I host with Citrix. So all that's left for me to say is a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.